Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking some really eye-opening insights from Mission 180, Episode 39, diving straight into the fascinating and honestly highly practical world of pranic engineering and the system of energy conservation. We hear that term prana, or life force energy, thrown around quite a bit, right? Usually it's in a super abstract or purely philosophical way. But what's so cool about this source material is how it breaks it down into a highly observable, almost mechanical process. We're not talking mysticism here. We're looking at a structured system for understanding exactly how our bodies manage, use, and, let's be real, completely waste our daily allowance of energy. So let me ask you something right off the bat. Do you have a scientific system to manage your energy? Really think about it. We have systems for absolutely everything else in our lives, don't we? We manage our finances, we optimize our schedules, we track our diets. But when it comes to the actual life force powering our days, well, most of us just wake up, cross our fingers, and wonder why we're completely running on empty by 3 in the afternoon. The text challenges us to stop treating our daily energy like an infinite resource and start looking at it systematically to stop this daily leakage. To get us there, here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, an introduction to pranic energy. 2. The leaky pot, energy leakage. 3. Energy conservation, the master's way. 4. The principle of human thermodynamics. And finally, number 5, your biological battery. Let's just jump right in. Starting off with sections 1 and 2, the leaky pot and energy leakage. To truly grasp energy conservation, we've got to understand energy waste first. And the source material introduces a highly relatable archetype to show us exactly what not to do. Meet Seth Karodimal. Just notice how mundane Seth's energy drains actually are. Gossip, unnecessary arguing, meaningless showing off. The text points out that Seth basically spends his entire day just pouring his energy into these exact behaviors. You see, we usually think of an energy drain as intense physical labor, like running a marathon or hauling heavy boxes. But the analysis here reveals that cognitive and emotional outputs, like getting dragged into a totally pointless debate or trying to impress people who really don't matter, these are massive, invisible drains on our pranic energy. The source text uses this brilliant metaphor for Seth's internal state. It calls it the leaky pot system, or chidrit gata in the original Hindi text. Just picture a clay pot filled with water, but it's covered in dozens of tiny little holes. It literally doesn't matter how much water you pour into the top, it is never going to stay full. Every time Seth gossips, a hole opens. Every time he engages in a petty argument, another hole opens. His energy simply cannot be contained. And here is the inevitable result of running a leaky pot system. You start with this towering amount of morning energy. You wake up refreshed, your pot is full, you're ready to go. But by the evening, it is an absolute flatline. Zero. Zilch. Because of that constant, unmanaged leakage happening all day long, by the time evening rolls around, Seth is completely depleted. His life force wasn't used for anything productive. It just sort of seeped out through the cracks of everyday triviality. Which brings us to section 3, energy conservation, the master's way. If Seth is the ultimate example of the problem, the source material gives us Master Dinanath as the blueprint for the cure. This really shows a stark contrast between two entirely different ways of operating. On one hand, you have Seth, frantic, always arguing, and utterly exhausted. But on the other hand, you have Master Dinanath's habits. He speaks less. He walks slowly. He deliberately conserves his energy for a specific mission. He's not being sluggish here. He's being highly calculated. The master recognizes that his daily energy is a finite currency, and he absolutely refuses to spend it on things that don't align with his core purpose. The whole philosophy guiding the masteress is rooted in recognizing the hidden energy costs of our actions. The text specifically highlights that absolutely everything you do has a price tag attached to it. Speaking has a cost. Thinking has a cost. Literally, even just looking or seeing has a tangible energy cost. Every single word you utter requires breath and muscular movement. Every passing thought requires neurological firing. When you start to understand that every single interaction is a direct withdrawal from your energy bank account, you start becoming a whole lot more selective about where you direct your attention. Moving on to section 4, the principle of human thermodynamics. This is where the source transitions from character metaphors right into the hard underlying mechanics. You're probably familiar with the basic laws of physics, right? Specifically the one that says energy in a closed system cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be transformed. Well, the source material applies this exact principle directly to our biology, calling it human thermodynamics. The energy you have today cannot just be magically fabricated out of thin air. It's a fixed pool. When you take action, you are transforming your vital biological energy into that action. So if you transform it into an unnecessary argument at work, that energy is gone. It is spent. And the crucial takeaway comes down to this simple equation. Wasted energy means there is absolutely no energy left for the body's repair system. This is the real physical consequence here. Your body needs a massive amount of pranic energy just to maintain itself, to repair cellular damage, to fight off illness, to regulate your nervous system. If you've poured all your energy out through that leaky pot of daily stress, gossip, and overstimulation, your body's internal repair mechanisms are left completely unfunded. You're essentially starving your own health and longevity, all because you couldn't resist a pointless debate. That leads us to our final section, Section 5, your biological battery. Now it's time to turn the lens away from Seth and the Master and focus entirely on you and how you're managing your own internal charge. Based on the analysis of the text, we can extract 3 highly actionable rules of conservation for your biological battery. First, speak less. Simply restraining your speech is one of the absolute fastest ways to plug a major energy leak. Second, think deep. Instead of scattered, anxious, shallow thoughts that just drain the brain, try to focus on singular, profound thoughts. And third, save energy. Actively make the conscious choice to hold your life force in reserve for the things that truly matter to your own personal mission. The source material culminates in this really powerful realization. Your energy is your life. Don't make it cheap. I want that to really sink in for a second. When you waste your energy on meaningless distractions, you are fundamentally cheapening your own life force. You're trading the very essence of your vitality for something that holds absolutely zero value. Guarding your pranic energy, that is the ultimate form of self-respect. So I'll leave you with this final, provocative question. Can you practice restraint of speech today? Just try it. See how much energy you actually retain when you don't say every single thing that crosses your mind. This whole concept of vocal restraint is so incredibly powerful that the source text indicates the next segment will focus entirely on it and its deep psychological impacts. We'll definitely be diving into that in our next explainer. Until then, mind your leaks, protect your battery, and thanks so much for learning with us today.